Bonney has the most powerful devil fruit in One Piece because her awakening allows her to, and at the end of Egghead, she's going to. By the end of this video, you'll know what I just censored. So I was having a great conversation about One Piece with Threevil on his stream the other day when he casually drops one of the best One Piece theories I've heard in months. As soon as he brought up this idea, my ears perked up and I started freaking out, and I told him we have to make a video on this. You just blew my mind. And so right after the stream, I began searching every corner on the internet. I looked through every Bonney chapter in One Piece and I've gathered all the evidence I need, and I'm now 100% confident that this theory will happen. You might be thinking, what's so great about this One Piece theory? Well, by the end of the video, we're going to reveal to you the name of Bonney's devil fruit and why Oda hasn't revealed it yet. You'll learn why Bonney has the most broken devil fruit in One Piece. You'll learn why Bonney will become a Straw Hat after the events of Egghead, and there's foreshadowing for this theory going all the way back to chapter 595, proving once again Oda is Goda. After watching this video and making it to the very end, you'll feel the same way I did that day. And to start out, let's welcome in Threevil to break down the origins of this One Piece theory.
Hey guys, this is Evil. Thank you to Preach for having me on. Now to start this mystery, we have to answer a few things. First of all, we know that there's a character named Toki, which translates to the word time, and she was the one that married and had a kid with Odin. She even did visit Wano at one point, so I guess you could consider her a citizen. Her devil fruit was actually named after her and is called the Toki Toki no Mi, again Toki meaning time. When Toki was dying, she was actually at the Odin castle, so her fruit must have died and maybe respawned at or near Wano. But as of Toki's death, we actually have no idea where her fruit went. Now this actually begs the question, is a Toki Toki no Mi the worse or better version of its pair? Like, think about it, most devil fruits in One Piece are in pairs. You have snow and ice, fire and magma, etc. And come to find out, yes, the Toki Toki no Mi does seem to be in a pair. When you think about Shinobu, the citizen of Wano, we know that she had the ripe fruit. This is a devil fruit that allows you to age up the environment and objects very easily. So when you look deeply at the ripe fruit, you can see that Shinobu's actually manipulating time to an extent. But if you compare it to, say, Bonney's devil fruit or Toki's, you come to learn that Shinobu has the worst version. So I would argue that Shinobu as a Wano citizen had the worst version of a time fruit, and Toki as a Wano citizen had the best version of a time fruit. And when you look at Bonney, who seems to have something related to time, you come to learn that she was also increasingly more important since Wano. She appeared at Egghead right during the beginning, and she had this whole kind of fiasco with the warm eddy. Now we have her trying to go through Kuma's flashbacks, and it seems like Oda's putting a lot of effort into the character of Bonney. And despite all that build up, despite all the focus on Bonney, Oda has never given the name of her devil fruit, and I find that to be a red flag in this stage of the story. The reason I feel like Oda didn't name Bonney's devil fruit is because he knows damn well that she has the Toki Toki no Mi. And when you analyze everything Bonney has done, it's very clear that Bonney is manipulating time through her powers. Like, think about her interactions with other people. When she makes someone young or makes someone older, she's manipulating time. Or even when she runs up to a door and grabs a lock, she can make it rust because she's manipulating the time on the lock. Now keep in mind, she's doing this through the medium of time. She's not doing this through height, width, or depth. She's doing this through time. So it's very obvious that everything Bonney does is very similar to Shinobu, but we know it can't be Shinobu's devil fruit. With Shinobu still being alive and her devil fruit never respawning, we have to question, did Bonney eat a smile fruit? I would go against that and say no, there has been no sign or indication of that being true. So it seems like Bonney did in fact eat the Toki Toki no Mi. And if you look at this from a narrative standpoint, Oda showed us Shinobu and showed us all her powers before Bonney to give us a preview. But now that begs another question. What about Toki jumping forwards in time? How does that work? I think that this is without a doubt one of the most important and most powerful tools anyone could ever have. The power of jumping forwards in time. I think that power specifically being at the base of a devil fruit would be very strange. Like, compare it to the Sun God Nika devil fruit. Luffy had the most insane journey ever with countless near-death situations, and he still never initiated the awakening. Like, seriously, think about it. Luffy went against Crocodile, Magellan, Aki Inu, and Luffy could not awaken at any of those moments. So with regards to the Toki Toki no Mi, I do believe that traveling forwards would be the awakening version of the devil fruits. And Oda tends to limit powers, especially other great devil fruits, so I think in the awakening it won't let you travel backwards in time, it's only forwards. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because it's obviously making sense. Everything Bonney has done with time regarding people and items is the base Toki Toki no Mi. But with Toki herself traveling forwards in time, it's an expression of the devil fruit's awakening. Now here's a mind-blowing fact regarding her fruit and her lineage. You have a character like Kuma who can alter space, being the father, and then you have a character like Bonney who is the daughter who can alter time. Through this father and daughter connection, you can alter space, time. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you, Preach, for having me on. Evil signing out.
Isn't that so cool? I've always believed Bonney's fruit would be called the age fruit or something like that, but this idea blew my mind because it all makes so much sense now why Oda wanted to keep her devil fruit a secret, never revealing the name of Bonney's fruit after all these years. Oda never told us about what happened to Toki and her fruit because it would spoil the mind-blowing reveal that Bonney can potentially teleport into the future and do all types of other wacky time-related abilities. So the first question you may be wondering is, how did Bonney get a hold of Toki's fruit? Or you may be thinking, Bonney's fruit can't be Toki's time travel fruit because Toki died in Wano, which is a land of closed borders. Nothing comes in and nothing comes out. It's an interesting question indeed, however, I don't think it debunks this theory in any way. In fact, if you remember, Barto, the Straw Hat Super Saiyan, leader of the Barto Club, and a member of Luffy's Straw Hat Grand Fleet, he has the barrier fruit, or the Body no Mi, which was also in Wano 20 years ago before it managed to end up with him. Samimaru, the old man who teamed up with Orochi, had it in Oden's flashback. And it doesn't stop here, because Bonchan's devil fruit, the clone fruit, or the Mane no Mi, was also in Wano 20 years ago with Higurashi, the evil shape-shifting witch. And another connection between these three devil fruit is that they all ended up with users who would become allies with Luffy, Bonchan, Barto, and Bonney. But the main point and why I bring this up is because it shows we have a precedent set up to devil fruits already somehow making it out of Wano and into the hands of pirates who helped Luffy on his journey. And now with Oda showcasing a really fun chemistry between Luffy and Bonney at Egghead, Bonney being Luffy's ally follows this trend completely. By the way, if you want Bonney to join the Straw Hats, leave a Bonney for Straw Hat in the comments. So we know Bonney's abilities give her the ability to manipulate time, tapping into alternate timelines of herself, others, and even things like doors and other objects. For example, we have Buff Bonney tapping into an alternate timeline of herself where she looks like Gear 4, a huge hulking brawny. You see what I did there? But what's actually really interesting about these abilities is the name attacks that Bonney has shown us. For example, this brawny mode is one possible timeline of an attack called Distortion Future, with the idea of futuristic powers being tied to her fruit. And then there's another attack called the Toshisuki. And what caught my eye about this is the word Suki, because Suki in this means to thrust. But we all know Oda loves wordplay and puns, and what's so crazy about this is that Suki also means moon in Japanese. Just like every main clan in Wano except the Kodazumi clan has the Suki in the end of their family names, like Kozuki, Shimotsuki, and yes, even Toki, whose full name is actually Amatsuki Toki. Another thing about Toki is that she was able to make prophecies. It's likely that these prophecies came from Oden's trip to Laugh-Tale, where he learned about the future history as well as the past. But what if Toki in the Time Fruit has another untapped power which has seen the future and visions that will happen in the future? This wouldn't be a crazy power to see in One Piece, since Madame Charlie from Fishman Island and the Sea Kings were already shown to be able to see prophetic events. And so maybe Oden's journey to Laugh-Tale only confirmed Toki's visions that she might have been seeing her entire life. And what this means for Bonney is that she might have been able to once see her father Kuma's death or even a more tragic event. And with Kuma being able to take away memories from people, what if the reason he didn't want Bonney to see his memories is because he actually took away her memories, but not memories of the past, but instead these haunting visions of the future that she cannot get out of her head. Maybe that's why Vegapunk and Kuma are so afraid of Bonney seeing these paw memories that are stored at Egghead, as they will traumatize her once again. And yeah, that sounds wild, but I have an even crazier idea that completely proves to me that Bonney has Toki's fruit, but also that Bonney has the most broken fruit in all of One Piece. You see, Bonney is known as an escape artist, and this is where Oda has foreshadowed the mystery name of Bonney's devil fruit all the way back in chapter 595. In this chapter, we see Blackbeard and his crew have captured Bonney. He was planning on making a deal with the Marines using Bonney's bounty and notoriety, but soonly after his crew informs him that Akainu was on that ship they're sending to the island they're on, Blackbeard makes a run for it, saying, "I'm not ready for that yet." The reason I bring this up is because isn't it kind of crazy how Bonney's managed to escape from Akainu, who Blackbeard and his entire crew are fearing? And isn't it even crazier to consider Bonney escaped from Akainu because he's telling her in this very chapter about how she escaped once before and how it brought a cold shiver down his spine. And it's even more wild when you consider Akainu is literally the hottest man. Pause. the lava man, so for him to have this kind of cold reaction from Bonney escaping is something that we should really take note of. Finally, when Rob Lucci visits Egghead, he brings up Bonney being this escape artist once again. Lucci says, an obnoxious woman. With all of her escapes, I thought we were finished with her already. So if we see her, we'll get rid of her for good this time. Then at the Reverie, we see Bonney, and I'm assuming she escaped this altercation another time again, since she was about to tell Luffy about Sabo early in the Egghead arc. But all these examples of Bonney constantly being able to escape time and time again is when it all hit me. You see, what would be something so broken, so annoying, and so obnoxious to deal with that not even a Kainu or any of the world government members could handle? What is something so ridiculous that it even frustrates and terrifies a fleet admiral? Of course, the obvious answer hidden in plain sight is that Bonney is a true escape artist because she can teleport. Bonney has awakened her devil fruit with its true name, the Toki Toki no Mi, or the Time fruit, and she's escaping by teleporting into the future every time. And this is how she makes a truly flawless escape. Although I also love the idea of Bonney turning a Kainu into a toddler and running away, because yeah, that is another one of her abilities, turning people into babies, which is helpful for a getaway. But when we're dealing with the top tiers like admirals and up and coming Yonkos like Blackbeard, really her last resort is time travel. In other words, Bonney being an escape artist proves this theory completely. And if you don't believe me already, let me prove it to you even more. But first, if you've enjoyed this video so far, leave a like, because these videos take a lot of work, research, scripting, recording, and so if everyone likes the video, it really helps me out. Toki's introduction gave us all the evidence we need, the final nail in the coffin, because as Oden's holding on to dear life on the back of the Moby Dick, so Whitebeard will accept him to join his pirate crew, we simultaneously cut to Toki for the first time, as we see she's about to get captured and sold into a slave trade by nasty pirates. And what is her plan? One of the pirates says, the sea's at your back, there's nowhere to run, as they corner Toki to the edge of the island. And the mind-blowing part here is that Toki replies to this by saying, not quite, I actually do have a means of escape. I'm trapped. Time to jump into the future again, implying that this time travel teleportation technique is the key to Toki also being able to escape from impossible situations time and time again, just like Jury Bonney. So basically, Bonney and Toki are both time traveling into the future, disappearing out of sight, frustrating their enemies because they never know what happened, how or what they did, and where they went. And the other broken part about this is, as an escape tactic, let's say that even if a Kainu did know about Bonney's power and what devil fruit she had, he still wouldn't be able to predict how far into the future she's jumping. It could be days or months or even decades. And this is why it's so obnoxious and annoying, because she teleports into the future where all the danger like the Marines have already left the area, because they're not going to waste their time waiting. And same with Toki, we all see her jump Momonosuke and Kinemon into the future, saving them from Kaido's rampage in Wano. Also, after rereading this Oden flashback, it got me to wonder, what if Toki and Bonney can heal wounds faster by speeding up their bodies into a futuristic version or changing their bodies into a past version? Oden says in chapter 964, thanks, it seems you nursed me back to health. Toki took a part in healing him from the wounds he received from holding onto the back of Whitebeard's ship because Oden saved her, and he goes from looking like this to this in only a matter of a single page. This entire healing process was off screen, but it makes you wonder, was this just to save time in his flashback, or is it because Oda couldn't show the power without giving the Bonney devil fruit reveal away? And this brings me to another idea that I had with this theory. When it comes to devil fruits, we assume everyone would use the abilities in the same way and use exact fruits exactly how the other previous user did. However, if you think about it, Luffy and many powerful devil fruit users use their abilities in very creative ways. Let's take Luffy for example. He has strange techniques that we all love, like the Gomu Gomu Gatling, Bazooka, Pistol, and then there's stuff like Red Rock and Red Hawk, and my personal favorite, the Gomu Gomu UFO. Think about how creative these abilities really are. And same thing with Law, we see him using a technique that was a reference to Corazone's sound cancelling room. This entire idea for this ability came from Corazone's inspiration. So my point is that if someone else ate Luffy or Law's fruit, they might use these fruits in completely different ways. The possibilities are up to the user utilizing their devil fruit to the fullest potential. And I bring this up because what if Toki used her fruit for more healing purposes, and Bonney used her fruit for more combat and trickery? They both have the same fruit, but utilize it by focusing on different abilities. Like, I'm sure Bonney could heal someone in this way that I'm theorizing Toki did, but instead she focuses more on brawny forms and turning people into babies. Considering Toki didn't seem seem like much of a fighter, I think this makes this idea even more valid. But now before we move on to major Egghead and Bonney connections, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and hit that bell like Luffy and Skypiea to be notified every time we drop a video. I'm currently working on a Prime Guard video as well as a few giant theories that are taking a while, but I'm onto something big and you're not gonna want to miss it. Egghead is Bonney's arc. It's the arc where she first meets up with the Straw Hats, and it's an arc with her story with Kuma and Vegapunk, and really the first time we've ever got to actually spend time with Bonney in the story. We may not know Bonney's fruit's name officially, but I believe Vegapunk and Egghead gives us even more clues to proving Bonney has the time fruit. With Toki being able to jump into the future, this is the first important clue, because when we look at the theme of Egghead and the entire island is an island of the future, how perfect and fitting is it to have Bonney and Vegapunk, the man with secrets to devil fruits, in this futuristic arc and tying their stories together. Vegapunk is jumping into the future with this island as he creates a futuristic technology, but Bonney having this devil fruit ability, being able to literally jump into the future, making this a perfect duo. She may hate Vegapunk, but the two are more alike than she even realizes, as the future is the core concept for the story arc. Now that I've finally convinced you of Bonney's devil fruit being the Toki no Mi, this leaves us with some wild implications and theories. When Threevo first explained this theory to me, my first comment to him was, wait, hold up. Remember when we first saw Bonney at the very beginning of Egghead? Oh yeah, she was flying out of a whirlpool or a warm eddy. Didn't you ever wonder? This was so random. Like, why on earth is Bonney flying out of this giant warm eddy in the middle of the ocean? And I started thinking, what if this is somehow related to her teleporting into the future, and she was then spit out into the current timeline through this? It made me wonder, was this moment an example of one of her crazy escapes from the world government, or maybe even Vegapunk? And where this theory gets even more insane is when you consider what Bonney tells Luffy a few chapters later, because she explains that a giant mecha shark ate her ship. So maybe this really was Bonney making a last-ditch desperate attempt to escape alive from this mecha shark. In chapter 1061, if we go back to when Chopper and Luffy save Bonney, she says, oh no, it's still there, implying just this, that she tried escaping from the giant mechas a few days before, but her attempt failed because it was still there. Like I explained earlier, when Bonney uses time travel to escape, people usually leave the area because they can't find her, but in this case the shark never left because it's part of Vegapunk's creations. And maybe since Vegapunk knows Bonney and Kuma, he knows her devil fruit and how she uses it, so he could have simply ordered the mecha shark to wait for Bonney to eventually return because he knew Bonney would eventually come back, even if it was a few days or months later into the future. Another idea I had about Bonney was her connection to Sabo. After meeting Luffy, there's a moment when Bonney was going to tell Luffy about Sabo and what happened between them at Marijoa. She says, oh, I met Sabo in Marijoa. I don't need to bring that up now, implying that Sabo told Bonney that Luffy is Sabo's brother and she knows about their connection, or she at least found out somehow that Luffy and Sabo are brothers. It's also possible she helped Sabo and maybe even Vivi escape during the Reverie incident. Remember when I brought up earlier in the video how Lucci is the one who specifically says that obnoxious woman with all of her escapes? Well, he may have actually witnessed her escape firsthand, because remember, Lucci was stationed at Marijoa during the Reverie, the same time when Sabo, Vivi, and Bonney were all there. There's a decent chance that he had to join in the battle against Bonney, Sabo, and the revolutionaries, so it would be really cool if she's the one who helped them escape, returning the favor for being so fired up to help Kuma. Also, when we finally see Vivi again in chapter 1074 with Morgans and Wapple, Morgan says to Vivi, shut up, you were bawling your eyes out yesterday, little girl. I know he's just being a bit of a jerk to Vivi, but wouldn't this be some gold of foreshadowing that Bonney helped Vivi by teleporting to the future? Think about it, the term little girl, like how Bonney turns people into little children, little girls. I know this part's a bit of a reach, but I think it would be kind of funny if Bonney turned Vivi into a little girl after escaping to keep her identity hidden. We see two of Morgan's workers with Vivi, and we can see one of Morgan's workers gave Vivi her clothes to wear. Well, it all makes sense if you consider that Bonney turned her into a little girl, since whenever Bonney does this to Marines and other enemies, their clothes barely fit them. And that's why Bonney wears specific clothes that barely fit her, like a white shirt that shows her entire stomach and very tight shorts with suspenders that look baggy when she shrinks into a child or old woman. I don't think Bonney is trying to look thick for the cameras. I think it's specifically for her devil fruit powers that she wears this very specific outfit. When Bonney turns Vegapunk or Marines into children, their clothes don't fit them, and so maybe when Vivi turned into a child, she had to leave her clothes behind, and now back into her adult form, she didn't have any clothes, so she had to borrow some from Morgan's workers. And finally, before I reveal to you why Bonney will have the most important moment in Egghead, I want to throw in this quick idea idea. We know Kuma can teleport people across the One Piece world with his powers. So what if Bonney got this idea from teleporting Kuma and was inspired by this power, similarly to how I mentioned with Law and Corazon? Could you imagine once it's revealed that Bonney can teleport and that she has the Toki Toki no Mi, how insane her fighting style could be? Imagine if she began incorporating teleportation into her fighting style. Bonney will be absolutely busted, as she could teleport a few seconds into the future, catching people off guard, dodging attacks, and then hitting them after their confusion when they're least expecting it. And only future sight masters would be able to keep up with her, making her one of the truly most annoying fighters in One Piece. It would be kind of like fighting Hit from Dragon Ball Super, similar to his time skip ability. But now taking this a step further and going along with the futuristic theme, imagine if Bonney also has future sight. Or like I mentioned with Toki, what if Bonney's fruit also allow her to see into the future in a similar way? This will make Bonney even more busted, as she could react to things in the future and time her teleportation attacks so well that she would be almost unstoppable unless fighting someone like Shanks or Luffy. And future sight does tie in with their character being represented as a futuristic theme. Imagine her mixing quick teleportation style with future sight and with her buff brawny form. This would be absolutely a force to be reckoned with, and maybe even one of the strongest supernovas. Now we finally need to talk about Bonney's awakening. It's very likely that Bonney's awakening could simply be the ability of time travel into the future, but the potential does not stop here. For example, we've been saying on this channel that we want one scene where Bonney turns Garp back into his prime during the final war, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes. A time limit where Garp can wreak havoc on Akainu or Blackbeard or anyone, even if it's complete fodder. I think this could be the greatest scene in all of One Piece. This is where Bonney's potential gets wild, because turning these old legends back into their prime is a truly terrifying possibility, and it would be so cool to see guys like Rayleigh come back into the final war and see their true strength for the very first time. And now that you understand the importance of Bonney's devil fruit, let's break down the ending of Egghead. I believe Lilith will be the only Vegapunk to survive the Egghead arc. Even the main Vegapunk dying as his final word shocked the entire world and launched chaos as he reveals a secret of the ancient kingdom. But the whole point of Luffy helping Vegapunk is that he's meant to save Vegapunk and help him escape from this buster call. And Bonney having the Toki Toki no Mi could play out like this. In the final moments, as the Marines are about to blow up the entire island, Bonney comes in clutch, saving all the Straw Hats and Lilith by time traveling a few weeks into the future. And after this, we get a newspaper explaining everything we missed in these last 2 weeks. Bonney very well might help the Straw Hats escape this doomsday scenario, a parallel to Kuma helping them escape Sabaody and Kizaru back then. And all of this marking the moment where Bonney becomes a Straw Hat. If you like this One Piece theory or anything we've said in it, leave a like and make sure to subscribe to this channel, as well as 3 votes for amazing One Piece theories. And speaking of One Piece theories, click on this video where I explain 16 insane One Piece theories that will make your head spin, like Sanji being a Seraphim, Zoro having the Will of D, and so much more.